KʻUng-Ming provokes Chu Yu a third time. The ambuscade into which Chu Yu had fallen had been prepared by the orders of KʻUng-Ming and was triple. However, Huang Kai and Han Tang contrived to get clear and found refuge in the ships, though with the loss of many men. When Chu Yu was in safety and looked about him, he saw Yuan Ter and the Lady Sun quietly resting on a hilltop. How could such a sight fail to put him in a rage? And with the access of rage his wound, not yet healed, burst open once again. He swooned and fell. They raised him and his ship set sail. He was allowed to depart undisturbed, while Yuan Ter proceeded to Qingchu, where were great rejoicings in honor of his recent marriage. Meanwhile Chu Yu had gone to Chaseng, while Chiang Xin, and those with him bore the sad tidings to Sun Chuan. He was angry beyond words, and his first thought was to send an army under Piu to take Qingchu. Chu Yu also wrote from his sick bed urging his lord to take vengeance. But Chiang Kao knew better, and said it could not be done. Said he, Tsao has never forgotten his defeat, but he dares not attempt to avenge himself while the Sun family are friendly with Liu Pei. If in any moment of anger you two fall upon each other, Tsao will certainly seize the opportunity, and your position will be dangerous. Ku Yung supported him, saying, "Beyond all doubt Tsao has his spies here. As soon as he hears of any rift in the friendship between Sun and Liu, he will desire to come to an understanding with the latter, and Liu Pei, who fears your power, will accept his offer and take his side. Such an alliance will be a continual menace to the land south of the river. No, the plan for the occasion is to secure the friendship of Liu Pei by memorializing that he be made governor of Qingchu. This will make Tsao afraid to send any army against the southeast. At the same time, it will raise kindly feelings in the heart of Liu Pei and win his support. You will be able to find someone who will provoke a quarrel between Tsao and Liu and set them at each other, and that will be your opportunity. In this way you will succeed." "These are good words," said Sun Chuan, "but have I a messenger who can accomplish such a mission?" "There is such a man, one whom Tsao respects and loves." "Who is he?" "What prevents you from employing Hua Sin? He is ready to hand." Wherefore Hua Sin was given letters and bidden go to the capital, whither he proceeded at once and sought to see Tsao. They told him that Tsao and all his friends were at Yechun, celebrating the completion of the bronze bird pavilion. So thither he went. Tsao had indeed never forgotten his great defeat and nourished schemes to avenge it, but he feared the combination of his two chief enemies, and that fear restrained him. In the spring of the 15th year, the great pavilion was completed, and Tsao invited a vast assembly to celebrate its inauguration with banquets and rejoicings. The pleasaunce was on the bank of the Chang River. The bronze bird terrace stood in the center, flanked by two others named the Terrace of the Jade Dragon and the Terrace of the Golden Phoenix. Each tower was 100 feet high, and a bridge connected them. Gold and jade vied with each other in the many apartments. At the opening ceremony, Tsao wore a golden headdress inlaid with jewels and a robe of green brocaded silk, girded with a belt of jade. On his feet were pearl-encrusted shoes. So clad he took his seat as host, while his officers, civil and military, were drawn up below the terrace. For the military officers was arranged an archery competition, and one of his attendants brought forth a robe of red crimson Sichuan silk as a prize. This was suspended from one of the drooping branches of a willow tree, beneath which was the target. The distance was 100 paces. The competitors were divided into two bands, those of his own family being dressed in red and the others in green. They all had carved bows and long arrows and were mounted. They stood holding in their steeds till the signal should be given for the games to begin. Each was to shoot one arrow, and the robe was the guerdon for hitting the target in the red. Misses were to pay a forfeit of drinking a cup of cold water. As soon as the signal was given, a red-robed youth rode quickly forth. He was Tsao-Hsu. Swiftly he galloped to and fro thrice. Then he adjusted the notch of his arrow to the string, pulled the bow to its full, and the arrow flew straight to the bullseye. The clang of the gongs and the roll of the drums announced the feat, which astonished them all. And Tsao, as he sat on the terrace, was delighted. "A very promising colt of my own," said he to those about him, and he sent a messenger for the red robe that the winner might receive it from his own hands. But suddenly from the green side rode out one who cried, "It were more fitting to let outsiders compete for the minister's silken robe. It is not right that members of the family monopolize the contest." Tsao looked at the speaker, who was one Wen-Ping, and some of the officers cried, "Let us see what his shooting is like." So Wen-Ping fitted an arrow to the string and fired also from horseback while galloping. To the surprise of the onlookers, he also made a bullseye, which was honored by another salute from gongs and drums. "Quickly bring me the robe," cried Wen-Ping. But at once from the ranks of the red-robed another competitor dashed forward, shouting fiercely, "How can you win what has been already won? But let me show you how I can shoot an arrow that shall overcome both your shots." He drew his bow to the full, and the arrow flew straight to the heart of the red. The surprised onlookers saw that this new competitor was Tsao Hung, who now became also a claimant for the robe. However, yet another archer came forth from the green-robed ranks, playing with his bow and crying, "What is there amazing in your shooting, you three? See how I can shoot." This man was Chang Ho. He put his horse to the gallop, then turned his back and, shooting backwards, also hit the center of the red. Thus 4 arrows were now sticking in the bullseye, and all agreed that it was marvelous archery. "I think the robe should be mine," said Chang Ho. Before he could finish speaking, a 5th competitor came out from the red robes and shouted, "You shot backwards, but that is commonplace enough. Look while I shoot better than you all." The speaker was Hsiahu Yuan. He galloped off to the very limit of the butts, and then, bending his body over backwards, he sent his arrow right in among the other 4. As the gongs and drums broke out, Yuan put aside his bow and rode up, saying, "Is not that a better shot than any of its predecessors?" Then came out another from the greens who cried, "Leave the robe there for me, Hsu Huang, to win." "What can you do that is better than my shot?" said Yuan. "That you hit the bullseye is no great feat. You will see me win the silken robe after all." So speaking, Hsu Huang fitted an arrow to his bow. Then looking around, he aimed at the willow twig from which the robe hung down and shot thereat so true that his arrow cut it through, and the robe fluttered to the ground. At once Hsu Huang dashed along, picked up the robe and slipped it on. Then, riding swiftly to the terrace, he thanked the minister. No one present could withhold unstinted praise, and Hsu was turning to ride away when another green-clad captain leaped out, saying, "Where would you go with that robe? Quickly leave it for me." All eyes turned to this man, who was Hsu. Hsu Huang cried, "The robe has already been adjudged to me. Would you dare take it by force?" Hsu made no reply, but galloped up to snatch the robe. As his horse drew near, Huang struck at his rival a blow with his bow. But Hsu seized the bow with one hand, while with the other he simply lifted his opponent out of his seat. Wherefore Hsu Huang let go the bow and the next moment lay sprawling on the ground. Hsu slipped out of the saddle too, and they began to pommel each other with their fists. Tsao sent one to separate them, but in the struggle the robe had been torn and soiled. He called the angry rivals before him, and they came, one darting fierce looks of hate, the other grinding his teeth with rage. "Never mind the robe, I see only your magnificent courage," said Tsao, smiling. "What does a robe more or less matter?" Whereupon he called the captains to him one by one, and to each he presented a robe of Suchuan silk. They thanked him for the generous gifts, and he then commanded them to take their seats in due order. Then, to the strains of a band of music, wherein each performer vied with all the others, the naval and military officers took their places. Civil officers of repute and captains of renown drank one to another, and hearty felicitations were exchanged. Tsao looked around to those about him, saying, "Since the military officers have competed in mounted archery for our enjoyment, and displayed their boldness and their skill, you, gentlemen scholars, stuffed full of learning as you are, can surely mount the terrace and present some complimentary odes to make the occasion a perfect success." "We are most willing to obey your commands," they replied, all bowing low. At that time there was a band of 4 scholars named Wang Lang, Chung Yao, Wang Tiesan, and Chern Lin, and each of them presented a poem. Every poem sang the praises of Tsao's valuable services and great merits, and said he was worthy to receive the highest trust of all. When Tsao had read them, he laughed, saying, "You gentlemen are really too flattering. As a fact, I am but an ignoramus who began life with a simple bachelor's degree. And when the troubles began, I built me a little cottage in the country near Chiaotong, where I could study in spring and summer, and spend the rest of the year in hunting, till the empire was once more tranquil, and I could emerge and take office. To my surprise, I was chosen for a small military office, which changed my intentions, and I determined to repress the rebellion, and so make a name for myself. I thought that I might win an inscription on my tomb to the effect that it covered the remains of the Marquis Tsao, who had restored order in the West. That would have been ample for a life's work. I recall now how I destroyed Tung Cho and smote the Yellow Turbans. Then I made away with Yuan Shu and broke the power of Lu Pu. Next, I exterminated Yuan Shao, and at the death of Liu Pio I had subdued the whole empire. As a minister of state, I have attained the topmost pinnacle of honor, and I have no more to hope for. Were it not for poor me, I know not how many there would be styling themselves emperor and dubbing themselves princes. Certain there be who, seeing my great authority, think I have some ulterior aim, but they are quite wrong. I ever bear in mind what Confucius said of K'ung-Ming, that he was perfectly virtuous, and this saying is ever engraven on my mind. If I could, I would do away with my armies and retire to my fief with my simple title of Marquis Whooping. Alas, I cannot. I am afraid to lay down my military powers lest I should come to harm. Should I be defeated, the state would totter, and so I may not risk real misfortune for the sake of an empty reputation for kindness. There be some of you who do not know my heart." As he closed, they all rose and bowed their heads, saying, "None are your equals, O minister, not even Duke Chu or the great minister Yin." A poem has been written referring to this. Had Duke Chu the virtuous died, while foul-mouthed slander was spreading her vile rumors, or Wang Mang the treacherous, while he was noted for the deference paid to learned men, none would have known their real characters. After this oration, Tsao drank many cups of wine in quick succession, till he became very intoxicated. He bade his servants bring him pencil and inkstone that he might compose a poem. But as he was beginning to write, they told him that the Marquis of Wu had sent Hua Sin as an envoy, and presented a memorial to appoint Liu Pei governor of Qingchu, and that Sun Chuan's sister was now Liu Pei's wife, while on the river Han the greater part of the 9 districts was under Liu Pei's rule. Tsao was seized with quaking fear at the news and threw the pen on the floor. Chern said to him, "O minister, You have been among fighting men by myriads and in danger from stones and arrows many a time and never quailed. Now the news that Liu Pei has got possession of a small tract of country throws you into a panic. Why is it thus? Tsao replied, Liu Pei is a dragon among men. All his life hitherto he has never found his element, but now that he has obtained Qingqiu it is as if the dragon, once captive, had escaped to the mighty deep. There is good reason for me to quake with fear. Do you know the reason of the coming of Hua Hsin? Said Chiang. No, I know not, said the minister. Liu Pei is son Chuan's one terror, and he would attack him were it not for you, O minister. He feels you would fall upon him while he was smiting his enemy. Wherefore he has taken this means of calming Liu Pei's suspicions and fears, and at the same time directing your enmity toward him and from himself. Tsao nodded. Yes, he said. Chiang Yu continued. Now this is my plan to set Sun and Liu at one another and give you the opportunity to destroy both. It can be done easily. What is your plan? Asked Tsao. The one prop of Wu is Chu Yu. Remove it by memorializing that Chu be appointed prefect of Nanchun. Then get Chiang Piu made prefect of Chiangxia, and cause the emperor to retain this Hua Hsin in the capital to await some important post. Chu Yu will assuredly attack Liu Pei, and that will be our chance. Is not the scheme good? Friend Chiang, you are a man after my own heart. Wherefore he summoned the emissary from Wu and overwhelmed him with gifts. That day was the last of the feastings and merrymakings, and Tsao, with all the company, returned to the capital, where he forthwith presented a memorial assigning Chu Yu and Chiang Piu to the posts he wished, and Hua Hsin was retained at the capital with a post of dignity. The messenger bearing the commissions for their new offices went down to Wu, and both Chu Yu and Chiang Piu accepted the appointments. Having taken over his command, the former thought all the more of the revenge he contemplated, and to bring matters to a head, he wrote to Sun Chuan asking him to send Lu Su and renew the demand for the rendition of Qingqiu. Wherefore Lu Su was summoned, and his master said to him, You are the guarantor in the loan of Qingqiu to Liu Pei. He still delays to return it, and how long am I to wait? The writing said plainly that the rendition would follow the occupation of Chuan. Sun Chuan shouted back, Yes, it said so, but so far they have not moved a soldier to the attack. I will not wait till old age has come to us all. I will go and inquire, said Lu Su. So he went down into a ship and sailed to Qingqiu. Meanwhile Liu Pei and KʻUng-Ming were at Qingqiu gathering in supplies from all sides, drilling their men and training their armies. From all quarters men of learning flocked to their side. In the midst of this they heard of Lu Su's coming, and Liu Pei asked KʻUng-Ming what he thought of it. KʻUng-Ming replied, Just lately Sun Chuan concerned himself with getting you appointed governor of Qingqiu. That was calculated to inspire Tsao with fear. Tsao obtained for Chu Yu the prefectship of Nanchun. That was designed to stir up strife between our two houses and set us fighting so that he might accomplish his own ends. This visit of Lu Su means that Chu Yu, having taken over his new governorship, wishes to force us out of this place. Then how shall we reply? If he introduce the subject, you will at once set up loud lamentations. When the sound of lamentation is at its height, I will appear and talk over your visitor. Thus they planned, and Lu Su was duly received with all honor. When the salutations were over and host and guest were about to be seated, Lu Su said, Sir, now that you are the husband of a daughter of Wu, you have become my lord, and I dare not sit in your presence. Liu Pei laughed. You are an old friend, said he. Why this excessive humility? So Lu Su took his seat, and when tea had been served the guest said, I have come at the order of my master to discuss the subject of Qingqiu. You, O imperial uncle, have had the use of the place for a long time. Now that your two houses are allied by marriage, there should be the most friendly relations between you, and you should hand it back to my master." At this Yuan-Ter covered his face and began to cry. "What is the matter?" asked the guest. Yuan-Ter only wept the more bitterly. Then KʻUng-Ming came in from behind a screen saying, "I have been listening. Do you know why my lord weeps so bitterly?" "Really, I know not. But it is easy to see. When my lord got the temporary occupation of Qingqiu, he gave the promise to return it when he had got the West Country. But reflect. Liu Chang of Iku is my lord's younger brother, and both of them are blood relations of the ruling family. If my lord were to move an army to capture another city, he fears the blame of the ignorant. And if he yield this place before he has another, where could he rest? Yet, while he retains this place, it seems to shame you. The thing is hard on both sides, and that is why he weeps so bitterly." The close of KʻUng-Ming's speech seemed to move Yuan-Ter to greater grief, for he beat his breast, and stamped his feet, and wept yet more bitterly. Lu Su attempted to console him, saying, "Be not so distressed, O uncle. Let us hear what KʻUng-Ming can propose. I would beg you to return to your master and tell him all. Tell him of this great trouble and entreat him to let us stay here a little longer." "But suppose he refuse, what then?" said Lu Su. "How can he refuse, since he is related by marriage to my master?" said KʻUng-Ming. "I shall expect to hear glad tidings through you." Lu Su was really the first of generous men, and seeing Yuan-Ter in such distress, he could do no other than consent, and say he would do so. Yuan-Ter and KʻUng-Ming both thanked him most cordially, and after a banquet the emissary went down into his ship to return. On the way he called in to see Chu Yu and told him, but Chu stamped his foot with rage and said, "My friend, you have been fooled again. Long ago, when Liu Pei was dependent on Liu Pio, he always cherished the intention to supplant him. Think you that he really pities Liu Chang of Shu? This sort of evasive policy will certainly cause you much trouble. However, I have a scheme which I think KʻUng-Ming will not be able to get the better of. Only you will have to make another journey." "I should be pleased to hear your fine scheme," said Lu Su. "Do not go to see our master. Return to Qingqiu and say to Liu Pei that, since his family and the sons are related by marriage, they really form but one house, and since he has qualms about attacking the West, we will do it for him. We will march an army under this pretext, but really go to Qingqiu, and we shall take him unprepared. The road to the west runs through his city, and we will call upon him for supplies. He will come out to thank the army, and we will assassinate him, whereby we shall revenge ourselves, and at the same time remove a source of future evil." This seemed an excellent plan to Lu Su, and he returned at once to Qingqiu. Before receiving him, Yuan-Ter talked over the matter with his advisor. Said KʻUng-Ming, "He has not seen the Marquis. He has called in at Chasing, and he and Chu Yu have decided upon some scheme, which he is to talk you into accepting. However, let him talk. Only watch me, and when I nod my head, then agree to whatever he may propose." Lu Su was then admitted and said, "The Marquis of Wu praises the noble virtue of the imperial uncle, and after consultation with his officers, has determined to take the Western Kingdom on his behalf, and that done, Qingqiu can be exchanged for it without further delay. However, when the army marches through, it will be expected of you to contribute some necessary supplies." KʻUng-Ming here nodded his head rapidly, at the same time saying, "We could hardly have hoped for such kindness," while Yuan-Ter saluted with joined hands and said, "This is due to your friendly efforts on our behalf. When the brave army arrives, we shall certainly come out to meet it and entertain the soldiers," said KʻUng-Ming. Lu Su felt great satisfaction and was quite happy at his success. He took his leave and went homeward, but Yuan-Ter as yet did not understand. "What is their intention?" said he. His advisor smiled. Chu Yu's end is very near. The ruse he is now trying would not take in a boy. Why? This is the ruse known as borrow a road to exterminate Kuo. Under the pretense of taking the West, they intend to capture this place. And when you go out to compliment the army, you will be seized, and they will dash into the city which they hope to find unprepared. And what are we to do? Have no anxiety. All we have to do is to prepare a hidden bow to get the fierce tiger, to spread the enticing bait to hook the great Leviathan. Wait till Chu Yu comes. If he is not killed, he will be 9/10 a corpse. We will call in Ko-Yun for orders, and give him secret instructions, and I will dispose the others. And Yuan-Ter was glad. Let Chu Yu lay what plans he will. KʻUng-Ming anticipates his skill. That river-land fair bait did look, but he forgot the hidden hook. Lu Su hastened back to Chu Yu to tell him that all was going as he desired, and Yuan-Ter would come out to welcome the army. And Chu Yu laughed with glee, saying, "At last! Now they will fall into my trap." He bade Lu Su prepare a petition for the information of the Marquis, and he ordered Changpu to bring up reinforcements. He himself had nearly recovered from the arrow wound and felt well. He made his dispositions for the advance, telling off the leaders of the van and wings. The army numbered 5 legions, and Chu Yu marched with the 2nd Division. While voyaging in his ship, he was always smiling to think how he was to have KʻUng-Ming at last. At Sayaku he inquired if there was anyone to welcome him. They told him the imperial uncle had sent Mai Chu to greet him, and he was called. "What of the preparations for the army?" asked Chu Yu as soon as Mai Chu came. "My master has seen to that all is prepared," said Mai. "Where is the imperial uncle?" asked Chu. "He is at Qingchu, waiting outside the walls to offer you the cup of greeting." "This expedition is on your account," said Chu Yu. "When one undertakes so long a march and such a task, the rewards for the army must be very substantial." Having got this idea of what Chu Yu expected, Mai Chu returned to his own city, while the battle ships in close order sailed up the river and took their places along the bank. As they went on, the most perfect tranquility seemed to reign on all sides. Not a ship was visible anywhere, and no one hindered. Chu Yu pressed forward till he came quite near Qingchu, and still the wide river lay calm. But the spies who came back reported 2 white flags flying on the city walls. Still not a man was seen, and Chu Yu began to feel suspicious. He had his ship navigated inshore, and he himself landed on the bank, where he mounted a horse, and with a small army of veterans under 3 captains, traveled along the land road. By and by he came to the city wall. There was no sign of life. Reining in his steed, he bade them challenge the gate. Then someone from the wall asked who was there. The men of Wu replied that it was their general in person. Immediately was heard the thud of a club, and the wall became alive with men all armed. And from the tower came out Ko-Yun, who said, "Why are you here, General?" "I am going to take the West for you," replied Chu Yu. "Do you not know? KʻUng-Ming knows that you want to try the ruse of borrowing a road to destroy Kuo. And so he stationed me here. And my master bade me say that he and the ruler of the West Country are both members of the reigning family, so that he could not think of such baseness as attacking Shu. If you people of Wu do so, he will be forced to go away into the mountains and become a recluse. He could not bear to lose the confidence of mankind." At this Chu Yu turned his horse as if to return. Just then his scouts came up to say that armed bands were moving toward him from all sides, and Kuan Yu and Chang Fei led 2 of them. Their number was unknown, but the sound of their tramping shook the heavens. They said they wanted to capture Chu Yu. At these tidings, Chu Yu's excitement became so intense that he fell to the ground with a great cry, and the old wound reopened. The game was now too deep. In vain he sought a counter-move. his efforts came to naught. Later chapters will show what was Chu Yu's fate.